Yeah, so we have that joke too. We need a vacation from our vacation. So what we do is we develop a holiday routine because we thrive in routines as well. So I try to just do one event a day with a day break. So in the morning, we're doing something. We're going to do lunch together. I really feel like meals are important. And then in the afternoon, it's their chill time. So develop whatever is your rhythm. I'm not saying my rhythm is your rhythm, but holiday routine is important.
Welcome to the ADHD Families Podcast. I'm your host, Sharon Collon, an award-winning credentialed ADHD coach and consultant and mama and wife to a very ADHD family. I am seriously obsessed with making life easier for people with ADHD and those that support them. My business, The Functional Family, provides life-changing support and strategies for ADHD. I particularly love anything that saves time, decreases conflict, and creates space for fun. Do you want a life with your beautiful family that is more functional, fun, and full of joy? Let's explore together the wonderful and sometimes wacky world of family life with ADHD in the mix. Welcome to another episode of the ADHD Families Podcast. I am your host, Sharon Collon, an ADHD coach, consultant, and parenting expert, and I am so happy that you are here. Today, we are talking about travel. Now, this can be a really intense topic. I find that families go split into two camps. There's the people who are like, yes, love holidays, like our family does really well. And then there's families like mine that do not cope very well when we take them out of all our standard environment that has all our coping mechanisms in there and all our systems built in. And even though holidays sound like a good idea, often like it's just a lot and I need a holiday to get over the holiday. So to talk about how to have a successful holiday with your beautiful family with ADHD, I have brought in a specialist, the incredible Jenifer Breaux. Now, she is a travel agent who specializes in this area. She has 2 neurodivergent kids herself, and she helps families travel when they have kids with extra needs. So whether that be ASD, ADHD, she customizes their travel experience and journey to support their kids with extra needs and support the family to ensure that everyone has a great time. And she is a character, and I can't wait for you to hear all the amazing tips she has for us in today's episode. Let's get to it. Welcome, Jenifer. I'm so excited for our chat today.
I am so thankful to be here. I know we're a little bit of a time difference, but listen, for us travelers, there's no such thing because we need to explore the world.
I am so keen for your practical tools today because I'm about to go on a holiday with my family and I'm keen to get some tips from you because this is your area. But before I get too excited, can you tell me a little bit about and tell our listeners a little bit about who you are and what you do?
So my name is Jenifer Breaux, and I retired from the Army after almost 3 decades. I couldn't make it that last year, so 29 years. And in the process, I adopted 2 of my kids, international adoptions. And the first one, our youngest one, we didn't know he had any neurodivergent issues until around 3 years old, although I think the signs were there earlier. So he has autism, ADD, anxiety, and depression. And our youngest, we did know he had autism and he was nonverbal at the time, although he talks a lot now. He has severe ADHD, he has seizure disorder and OCD and anxiety. And we are a family that loves to travel. So we travel probably 3 to 4 times a year with the family, and 1 or 2 trips with just us, the parental units, because we need our downtime.
Definitely. Okay. So I have this episode is going to all be about travel and some practical tools because I think that sometimes, and, you know, my family included, travel just feels a little bit hard. Now, it can go either way, either school holidays for families, they either love school holidays, have a bit of a break, lower some of the demands of school, and then they can go on trips. Or maybe it feels like hard work. You don't get the break anymore. You lose your routine structure, and we see a lot of dysregulation. And then, so for some of those families that find that time challenging, school, planning a family vacation can feel like a step too far. Or maybe on the idea of it sounds good, but then when you get there, everyone's having a horrible time and everyone's yelling at each other and there's lots of dysregulation. And I think I have a little bit of a trauma response for being in the car with my 3 boys. Like, I'm not joking. We've had so many car trips where they are just absolutely fist fighting in the back. And my husband's like, we can't do this. We can't even make it to Cronulla Beach, which is like 5 minutes away. Can't even make it to Cronulla. How can we expect to go to the Gold Coast? Like it's a tumultuous time. So I am really keen to hear, perhaps you can share your top tips for planning a trip when you have children with ADHD.
So yes, I thought autism was hard, but ADHD I think is harder because there are all of the sensory inputs. So it's not just smells might be distracting, vision, if they're working on something, the sounds. So I think that ADHD is really hard. And I didn't even know it was a spectrum till we started working with our son's autism therapist. And she's like, it's a spectrum. I'm like, I know nothing about ADHD. So I had to get on my thinking cap and do some research. But I would even break down a holiday, a vacation, into different types of vacations because how you respond to a car is going to be different from a resort, a plane, or a cruise. So we need to break that down even into smaller components because what you're doing on each is going to be tackled just a little bit differently. So in your example, you're talking about the car. We're going to want to have, now, I don't know if you ever went camping as a child. I did a lot of camping. We didn't have a lot. So camping was the number one go-to. And so even in my larger family, we would do family reunions. We did a lot of songs. So we even do that, even just going down 20 minutes to the ballpark. We'll do a backseat boogie. So we'll take turns. That's what we call it. Okay. Or we'll pass the mic, but it's not really a microphone. You'll take the first verse, or I'll just say, okay, Jacob, it's your turn. Okay. No, it's your turn. They may not know the lyrics, but they kind of fumble around, or we'll allow each person to choose the radio station for a turn because not everybody agrees on the radio station. And my husband is a talk radio station. He loves talk radio. Listen, nobody's having that. We don't even want that in our car. We're not having that. We don't care about the weather. We don't care about the news or the cow report. We're not in for that. So we take turns listening. We think about those old school games like someone stole the cookie from the cookie jar. Who, me, not, so that don't do the bottles of beer. That could last forever. Our kids can't even find the different license plates because they go by too fast. With autism, that's not going to work. Or the color game, like I spy green. Now that took our little one a little bit, a long time to catch up on because he's like, I spy a green tree. So, you got to kind of break into that. So that's great. Think about old school games in the car. Now, this is where I'm going to say I'm a tech. I don't like people being on their tech all day. I'm not that. But you could do songs. You could break it up with the car games. You could, we have this car bingo game that we play. So you could bring that along. Break up your day. If it's 5 hours, stop in a couple hours to stretch. Now, my kids can't track a ball because we used to maybe play the ball and kick for a little bit, but all we did was chase the ball. So if that's not your family and tracking, maybe just play tag or run around, or who can get to the tree the fastest. Obviously identify the tree and which tree it is, but get out of the car, break it up. I know it makes your day longer and you just want to get there, but do that kind of thing. Or if they're into smells, buy a scratch and sniff something and try to guess what the smell is. Break things up into that and play to what they enjoy. My eldest, he loves sniffing different things. I can't smell, but they could guess something, play to what is distracting for them, make that the thing that gets them into and distracted. And soon as you know it, 30 minutes have gone by. And then maybe incorporate the text. Now I have teenagers, so they're not coloring anymore. When they were younger, if you have younger kids, make a bag. We have fidgets, but that's not going to work in a car. That might work at your rest stop or if you stop for breakfast. Something like that would work. Hard candies work. Peppermints are soothing. So that helps work if you take a bag of candies, hard candies. I know that helps maybe break up or recenter some folks. So that's what I would say for a land trip. Same with once you get to where you're going. So let's take the hotel or the resort that you're going to. I know we love the pool and we love looking at the beach, but that's maybe too much noise. So when you make your reservation, ask to be put towards the back of the resort. Why? Less noise. You don't have the pool party. You don't have the foam party noise and people making noise. Some resorts do fireworks at night. Is that what you really want to hear? That's distracting. It's a lot of noise. They have pool games. A lot of times resorts, I don't know in Australia, but a lot of times resorts have a white night or some kind of dancing celebration on the beach or a specialty dinner on the beach. That's a lot of noise. You want that at 10 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock at night when the kids are just hanging out because they needed a break from what's going on at the hotel or the resort. That's a reason why you need to have a room at the back, away from where the center of activities are happening. And I wouldn't even say back because sometimes a lot of the restaurants are towards the back of the resort. So wherever that is, that's off the main traffic, that's where you're going to want to request your room. Now, some rooms do have less artwork. Some don't, some do. If they have it, maybe you could just take it down and hide it behind your couch. So again, less distracting, less activity and busyness in your room. So those are two things that are going on, your drive and your resort, your hotel.
And it's interesting that you said that. It's like kind of like honoring how your child, what their sensory needs are and playing into that. And I know, I just want to preface this by saying like food is so important because like that HALT approach, like are they hungry, angry, lonely, tired? Like that can be one of the biggest things to ask yourself. Like sometimes our most intense family moments have just been because everyone's just a little bit hungry. So feeding them constantly is important. I like that you said about the peppermint too.
Right. And we always have a snack bucket in our car. And it's so stupid because they just ate, right? They literally just ate. And one of my kids is sensory averse. I have to cut tags out everywhere. Otherwise, he'll come home from school. If he sees a little hole, that's my severe ADHD kid. Half of his shirt is gone by the time he comes home from school. I can't tell you how many shirts I've thrown away because half of it's gone. But my other son, it's 100 degrees in Tampa right now. And he has a blanket on. He's holding a pillow. He's sensory seeking. A lot of times when he was dancing, when he was younger, we'll attend weddings or whatever. He'll throw himself on the floor because he wants those inputs. He needs those inputs. So in the car, I'll put their pillows and their blankets. But the youngest one, he throws them in the back right away. I'm like, oh my God, I just packed this car. But the eldest one, he wants that blanket on him. He wants the pillow on him. He wants to build a little fort around him. So again, having the different candies that they like, different foods that they like. So my little food bucket is really not tiny. It's a little container that I keep that's probably about this big. I don't know, a foot long, a foot and a half long. And then what does my husband want? Because he wants something. I'm like, oh my gosh, you all are too much. And he's not ADHD or ADD. I don't know what he is, but I got to fit all the needs. And I'm like, okay, now mom's in her little cocoon. Y'all are happy. Let me throw some food at you and y'all are happy.
Why hasn't someone developed that petition that you could put between the kids in the back of the car seat? Like, seriously, like, we can put men on the moon, but we can't separate kids in the car. Like, what is going on here? Like, that someone needs to develop that. Okay, so tell me what some common challenges are that parents face, and how we can prepare for them. What do people talk to you about when they're traveling with their kids with ADHD?
So I think one of the common challenges is I know this is ADHD, but a lot of kids also have anxiety. So maybe that centers around ADHD and anxiety, but what to expect? They're nervous, right? What am I supposed to expect when I'm going there? And maybe that's through the moms, because I talk to a lot of moms. It's not the dads that are calling me. It's the moms that are arranging the vacations, right? So maybe it's them, what to expect. What about the food? What about what's going to happen on day 2? Is there going to be something for them? Well, what does that look like? Well, do we have to do that? So what does all of that look like? So there's 2 things that you can do for the families and the parents. For the children, we talk about a social story. And I don't know if you've heard of that. We've used that in the autism world, but that also helps with anxiety. And that helps with ADHD because you also leave space. So what it is it tells you about the whole entire vacation, but as a story versus an itinerary. So the itinerary, a very detailed one, is for the parents. So on day 1, this is when you're going to arrive. Your transfer is going to be here. He's going to be holding a sign. This is where you're going to look for them. So there's no misunderstanding about what's going to happen. So for you as a parent or as a mom, or maybe you're on a girls' weekend, so you're going to have that, or as a couple, you have a very detailed itinerary of what's going to happen. The travel time is going to be 45 minutes approximately because, in big cities, especially like London, you never know that traffic coming out of there and all the circles and what that looks like. So any big city, New York, it could be an hour, it could be an hour and a half. You never know. But it gives you an approximate time and how many minutes and how many miles. And this is maybe your driver's name or what uniform to look for. They're in a purple shirt. But for the kids, a social story is where it's at. So you'll have the calendar. Maybe they don't understand a calendar, but they can count the number of days that are on it. This is how you're going to go. You're either going to go by a plane or you're going to go by a car. Who's going with you? Okay, it's just your parents or grandma's going with you. And you can include a picture of the kids with grandma. Okay, you go to the next page. You're packing your suitcase. You're going to take your swim shorts. You're going to take some socks. You're going to take, for little kids, a bear. Now, my youngest one didn't take stuffed animals. He was in an orphanage. They didn't have those things. But he does take his Legos. My eldest son, he takes the same 2 books. So he's not taking those things. Comfort item is his books. And it's the same 2 worn out books, but he takes it and he feels comfortable there. Then you leave a couple lines for them to fill in, or you fill in for them and write that for them because some kids can't write. So it's reading like a story. Now, when do you present this story is up to you, because my youngest, I can't tell him to a day or 2 before, or he'll perseverate on it. But my eldest, I can tell a week before because he knows and he understands time. So depending on your ADHD child, he could keep going back to it and read it and fill it in. Maybe even color it. Maybe you put a picture in there to color of the cruise ship that you're going on, or the resort has palm trees, or, koalas. I love a koala. I've been following this story of a rescue place in a rescue habitat in Australia, and they help koalas get back out into the environment. So I love it. So I have that on my brain today. So that reads like a story. And so they know what to expect. Hopefully it reduces some of the anxiety. I'm not going to say all, but that's what I find. I had a family that traveled to Peru, and while they may not have ADHD, they do have anxiety. So I find with folks that are neurodivergent, they usually have an additional diagnoses. So ADHD, they might have some anxiety. They don't know what to expect. Or food. Oh, I know that they like pineapples, so I'm going to make sure I have pineapple that I put in there. Oh, and on the second day, we're going to go on a pineapple plantation and we're going to taste some fresh pineapples or something like that. And you can make sure that if you're doing the vacation planning, you could do some of that research for them.
I love those suggestions. And I really like that you're using that story concept to build anticipation. Now, we know with the ADHD brain that anticipation is a great, like I talk about open, closed brain a lot, and it opens the brain, right? Like they love anticipation, novelty, it's an interest-based brain model. So love that. And it's help building that anticipation, but also alleviating the anxiety by showing them what's happening. Because my kids have a lot of questions like, what's for dinner? What are we going to eat? When are we doing this? What day are we doing that? Like, they've got a lot of questions about that. So it's just easing up that anxious brain and giving them that story or that kind of loose, flexible agenda. Now, I want to just discuss now overscheduling, because we know that for sometimes as parents, especially if we are a super ambitious ADHD mum, the tendency can be, and I'm saying this with a bit of a smile on my face, for the more and more concept, like let's pack it all in there. Sometimes I feel like with my family that we do so much in holidays that I get home from the holiday and feel like I need a holiday from the holiday because my husband's like, he's a very hyperactive presentation. He's like, and now we've got to do this. And now we're going for a swim. And now we're doing this. And he just does not sit still for a minute. Can you tell me or speak to overscheduling or doing too much on holidays?
Yeah. So we have that joke too. We need a vacation from our vacation. So what we do is we develop a holiday routine because we thrive in routines as well. So by the second day, the kids kind of get a flow of our holiday routine. And again, with the sensory, we love the beach, but our youngest does not. He is sensory averse, like I've mentioned. He doesn't want to go in the sand. When we try to go to the beach here, our beach is about 45 minutes away. He'll get in the car and I'm like, okay, let's go to the beach. He's like, I'm done. I did that. All done. So whereas our eldest, that is really his happy place. So I schedule one day for the beach. And I'm like, it's a family event. We're all going to go as a family. But Noah, what do you want to do? We're going to do bowling. So I try to just do one event a day with a day break. So do our holiday routine. In the morning, we're going to do our event, whether it's the pool, whether it's kayaking, that's the day. Then a day off. So maybe an event, a recoup day. So in the morning, we're doing something. We're going to do lunch together. I really feel like meals are important. And then in the afternoon, it's their chill time. They can watch TV. They love their tech. So, okay, you're going to have some tech in the afternoon, but that's our schedule. So that's our holiday routine. In the morning, you can watch cartoons. You get to sleep. They don't sleep in, but they get to sleep in 7 days a week. My little ADHDer, he is up at between 6:30 and 7 days a week. I tell you, I'm not kidding. So there's no break for us, but now he can turn on the TV and he kind of relaxes and he likes it. But so 7 days a week. But then we go to breakfast. We're on with our swimsuits and we're out to the pool. We're out doing the kayaking. Or the beach or whatever it is. In the afternoon, they get their time. We're all in our little time. Then we go on to either bowling, because bowling, I like to, wherever it is, maybe we do that in the morning and then go to lunch or right after lunch. And then it's our personal time. So develop whatever is your rhythm. I'm not saying my rhythm is your rhythm, but holiday routine is important. One, it sets the expectations for our kids. They know what to expect. They know that they're going on holiday, right? You've just presented your social story, your itinerary, but you need to have that routine too, because it sets up their expectations. They're already out of whack because they don't have that school routine. So set up a holiday routine too. I'm not trying to be so rigid. I just said, well, maybe we'll do bowling before lunch or right after lunch, but then the afternoon is their time. So they know what to expect. It's not so rigid. Yes, the morning we're going to do these things, and this time block, you're going to do your things.
Yep. I love it that you're setting that out. Yeah. And I also love like putting that on a visual somewhere, because a lot of our kids are very visual, visual processors. So we want to like have it up somewhere so they can see it, so that it's a comfort to know. One thing that I've learned from traveling with my family is, I'm not talking overseas here, because there's no amount of money that would make me take my kids on a long plane flight at this age. At this age, maybe one day I will. But one of the things that I've noted that fits us up or sets us up for success is having a place that has kitchen facilities, so I don't have to buy every meal out. Having a place with a dishwasher, because I'm not going on holidays to wash everyone's dishes, and washing machine and dryer, because for some reason we just because my son's very sensory, he likes to wear the same clothes over and over and over again, which means I can wash them. And
well, they feel a certain way. They feel a certain way. Yeah.
Yeah, so those things have been really good. So let's talk about overstimulation and sensory overload during travel, because we're doing lots of really exciting things. Like we are going to go to Dream World, which is like Disneyland, right? And so it's going to be sensorily stimulating. Now, the kids will love it. My kids are sensory seekers, so they will be all over it. But then it tips to a point of overstimulation, right, where we're just in hyper arousal. Can you tell us a little bit about what you recommend for handling sensory overload or overstimulation?
Yeah, so we've done Universal over here, which is kind of like only it's Harry Potter and Dr. Seuss, and we've done, for God's sakes, I don't ever want to do this, but we've done Disneyland or World. I forget which one is in Tampa. That's how much I don't like it. But we have done it with the kids. Now, I don't know your kids' body rhythm, but we have gone early in the morning and we've committed to like 4 or 5 hours because we don't want to hit that. So know your kids' body rhythm. I always say go to the parks early so that you are not with a lot of crowds. If they're getting to that point, find some shade if you can, find some water, you're allowed to take usually a small little bag in, that can be searched. So take the candies or take the food that helps them. I would just say, take that bag in, cold water, find a quiet spot. Usually they have a calming station. I would say more and more places are coming online for neurodivergent kids. I don't know about that particular park. A lot of places now have lines for neurodivergent kids.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Disneyland does. So do the research ahead of time. They say autism, but I wish they would say neurodivergent, because ADHD falls into that category for sure. So they really need to change the term to neurodivergent. So Disneyland does have that. So you can skip the line. So you're not in those long lines. Skip the line, fast pass, invest in those things so that you're not waiting in those lines. You'll still have some lines, but you can skip some of those lines. They have apps now where you can look at the speed of the lines, especially like for fast pass and those more popular lines. I always recommend playing old school games too, like who can stand on your leg the longest. There goes the I Spy again, the thumb war, odds and evens. Odds and evens, rock, paper, scissors, thumb war. I created this game the other day. Hey, let's play a sword game with our 2 fingers and do that. Songs. And then people start playing around you too with that. So it's so funny because then it becomes infectious and they start playing those same games with you or around you anyway. So look into apps for the places that you're going to. Look into neurodivergent autism, because I think ADHD really is a spectrum like autism, and they have lines for the neurodivergent, if not neurodivergent autism, but I would sign them up for that. So there's particular lines. Now you're saying, well, what if they've reached that peak? But I would try to avoid that. Try to get into the parks early. Have a plan for not reaching that peak. We always go back early and play in the pool so that they're 1, cooling down, 2, away from people, and and making your own fun. So don't just try to do everything. I know it's tempting because these parks are so ridiculously expensive. You're talking a couple $100 a day. It's crazy. And then you have the hotel, and that's crazy. We don't do park hopping. We're not doing more than one park. So don't spend your money on that. Don't go back. Just don't do it. Get the most you can out of that. Do 5, 6 rides. Make an event with staying on property because you get the transportation. Enjoy the pool at the resort. Make that a thing. What if happens if the meltdown? Because we have had that. Try to bring them away from people. Let them have their moment. Cold water. Your snacks are going to help. Try to do calm voice. Always a calm voice. Don't keep talking to them because that's going to keep ratcheting it up, right? Don't talk. Just let them work it out. We always still do it. We don't like to say a timeout because that gets a bad rap. We say timeout, but hey, let's just have a cooling down period. Don't engage. Even with our 16-year-old, well, fine, I'm just never going to come back here. Try again. I'll wait for you. Just take a moment. But especially now, it's so hot. I don't know why anybody would go to Disney World. It's so hot.
Look, I think that you've given some really great tools in there. Now let's talk about accommodation now. So I did talk a little bit about some of the family specific things that I look for in accommodation, but let's talk about types of accommodation that you've noticed have benefits for kids with ADHD or ADHD friendly.
Yeah, so it can be great and it can be challenging. So we've already talked about where to stay on property. I like to find clubs, but they can be overstimulating. So kids clubs, I found one. We just went to this resort. It had a teens club, but the downside is it was just opening. I was there to check out the property to see would it be worth it to go. I like to find activities that are included. So this one was fabulous because it had kayaking and it had paddleboarding included. But what was the bonus was it wasn't out in the ocean. It had the largest man-made lagoon. So you didn't have to worry about your kids falling in the ocean and then you had to be athletic to try to help them. It built my son's confidence and I was able to do kayaking with him. Taught him, I'm not a kayaker. I'm not trying to profess I am, but I showed him how to turn his kayak around so he could go further out, turn it around himself. And then he was kayaking a lot and it wears them out. I love that too. So they were swimming a lot, handstands. We didn't go in the kids pool where there's a lot of hustle and bustle and kids and thrashing around. So they could not get distracted. They could do their handstands all day. They could have swimming contests between each other and do the kayaking and paddleboarding. So look for activities that are already built into the hotels or resorts that you're going to. I mean, we're already having to pay a lot for the resorts, or I like to I like to be spoiled. We work all day, right? And we're moms and we're the taxi drivers and we're the chefs and we're a lot of the cleaners. And so let's be pampered a little bit. So I like to be pampered a lot. So they'll bring me my drink, you just put your hand out and they put your drink in your hand kind of thing. But, so some of the resorts will include that. So look for those opportunities. And then if they've never done it, they can try it. And you're not out any money and a trip away from your resort, right? It's right there at the resort and you can watch them and they give them a little class. So it's not you trying to figure it out on top. Like, how do I work this equipment? Do I stand? Crap, I just fell in the water and then I'm trying to get up again. It's them and it builds their confidence as well. And then my little one, he didn't want to try it, but next time I could try it with him and then put him inside. And then he doesn't even have to do anything if he doesn't want to. I could just do it all.
I love that you said, find accommodation where there's activities to do on site, because what we're doing there is lessening the amount of transitions, because especially for those of us that have a little bit of struggle when we're getting our kids in and out of the car or in and out of activities, if you can walk to somewhere and, like be in nature to get to the activity. That's just so much easier. In Australia, we have these big 4 holiday parks, and even though they can be a lot, in terms of if you go in school holidays, and that's something that we probably should touch on here about like timings of travel. We tend to do our travel outside of school holidays because lines, people, sensory overwhelm. But, having less transitions for activities is really, really clever because all of those things you're paying cash for a transition, like brain cash, I'm talking about executive function cash. So if you've got things on site that you can go and do that are engaging, like even better.
Yeah, my little one, he will decide today, no, I'm not going to do that. And you're like, the taxi's here. No, I'm not going. I don't want to. And so then you have to get his mind up mentally. Then my husband decides, well, then I'll just stay with it. I'm like, I'm trying to do a family activity here. So then next time I'm like, okay, I want to back that up 30 minutes to get him. And then that particular day, he's like, fine, I'm good. And then you're sitting in the lobby for 30 minutes. I'm like, we could have been relaxing for 30 minutes. So it's, you never know what day he's going to wake up on and have a thorn in his side or not. So, yeah, and we do use timers for everything. Okay. 5-minute countdown, 3 minutes. We're going to go. We talk about the day ahead of time. We do all of those things. And I want to revisit what you said before about the visual schedule, because you're absolutely right. A visual, you can get these small little whiteboards, and maybe we just throw that in our backpack and put a 5 on it. Okay. You got 5 minutes. But he likes to use a timer and a talking timer on he's tech for him. I'm like, okay, or I'll put it on my iPad. You can visually see it, 5 minutes. So if people don't want to pack an extra thing, you could always do that. So
love that. So if you were going to give 3 tips for parents to take away to try as they're planning their next family holiday, what would those 3 tips be?
I always like, if they have never traveled, I say start. And this is how I would like you to start. Find a hotel that's about an hour away. Why I say an hour versus 10 minutes is you could easily go back home. But an hour, you might think about it. So find a hotel that's about an hour away that has a pool. Make sure you make your reservation, confirm that it does have a pool. And I don't know how many people in your family, maybe 4 or 3. So have a bedroom for yourself and maybe a pull-out sofa for your kiddos. And then make your reservation. Make sure you get maybe a float. I don't know, what's your store that has floaties or equipment? We have Walmarts and Targets.
Yeah, we've got Targets, we've got Kmart, we've got a few different things that have those cheap floaties. Yeah.
Okay, so floaties, or we buy Amazon, so something like that. Something that's easy, like buy a 99-cent blow-up ball. And everybody has their swim shorts. Bring a little blow-up ball. Check into the hotel. Put all your gear in your hotel and go directly to the pool. Play for a couple hours. Have your ball, play Marco Polo, swim, have races, maybe not splashing contests, depending on how sensory or people don't like to have water on their face, but you can play with your ball. Come back up to the room and order. We like pizza here. We like Fun Food Fridays and things like that. But so you're not cooking. Unless there's some dietary issues, bring those with you so that you're not cooking while you're there. So order out so you're not cooking. Bring your drinks with you, whatever kids like, or get some milkshakes or something to make it special. Bring your dessert with you. We like candy. Whatever your thing is, your go-to. So have your takeout. Then, I forgot to tell you, bring some bags of popcorn or maybe some candy and watch a movie on the TV. Everybody get in their PJs and sit on the couch together or the floor and watch a movie together. Make memories together. Eating your popcorn, drinking your pop or your milkshakes, all together. Go to bed. Now, here in the U.S., we always have breakfast included. So make sure your hotel has breakfast included. The next morning over breakfast, talk about your afternoon the day before. What did your kids like? What is their best memory that they had? Was it splashing in the pool? Was it watching a movie together? Was it eating pizza and talking about the toppings that you had? That was doing it. That was going on a trip together. Now I want you to keep repeating that, maybe going an hour and a half this time. Keep doing that until everybody feels comfortable. The parents feel comfortable. You don't have any, I don't want to say issues, but any challenges. My first road trip was not pretty. My son screamed for an hour and a half until he went to sleep. Then we had to get up the next morning and do it all again. So it may not be pretty. He didn't know what to expect. There were different smells. The bedding was scratchy for him. He had never been in a hotel. So I take that back. We adopted him. He had been in a hotel then, but it was just different smells, different expectations. So we kept repeating that until he became comfortable. It wasn't about us. It's about your children or you if you have ADHD until you are comfortable and they are comfortable. Then you can expand and go to a resort or do a 2 or 3 day cruise, whatever that is that your dream is and their dream is. So that's my suggestion to you is to go out and travel, to make memories. And that's a way to do it relatively inexpensive, to make memories different ways just on a one night.
I love that. And it's a nice slow exposure in a nice, slow way.
In an environment that you can kind of control.
Let's talk about money just quickly because I have this memory. I've got to tell you a little story. We went to SeaWorld as kids and my dad, we were teenagers at the time, and my dad he got us all to put out our hand. And I love this story. It shows how different me and my brothers were. So he got us all to put out our hand and he put $10 in each hand. Then he did another $10 in each hand. And then it got to $100 each, right? Which is the most amount of money I had ever seen at that age. And what he said that you guys have free access through this resort to SeaWorld. You can go crazy. This is your spending money for the whole trip. Now, we will provide all your meals if you come back to the room. Like for lunches, we're not eating out, but you can have stuff in the room. Like they had baked beans and tins of stuff and toast and everything. You can have that or you can spend your money, but this money is yours for the whole trip. You can decide whatever you want to do with it for the whole trip. And so my eldest brother, who was quite conservative with money, spent nothing. He came back to came back for every single meal and ate in the hotel room and perhaps even made some money at some point, like maybe sold something to my other brother and made money. My middle brother, the middle-aged brother, he blew his money in the first day, like saw a, I don't know, paintball or jet skiing or whatever, like gone first day, and then was like in poverty for the rest of the holiday. And I was somewhere in between, like budgeted, but like kept my money fit. And it makes me laugh because each child has a different relationship with money. And it can be really tricky for parents because they go into the gift shops and they go into, you might be walking past shops and the kids want everything, right? Like they're like, I want that, I want that, I want that. And it can be to the stage where it's causing meltdown, causing friction, and parents are spending a fortune on stuff that like it's rubbish, basically. So do you have any tips around supporting our kids to have a good time, but also not cause that friction or challenge when it comes to spending money?
Yeah, it's hard because some kids don't know the value of what money is. So that's my youngest. He doesn't understand. And, we had a hard time. So when we had one child, we would go to the gift shop and buy that T-shirt, right? As soon as second child came around, we're like, no, we're going to Walmart, getting your T-shirts or a picture frame at Walmart. We had to change mentally of how we even did that because it did change. So this is what we do for our kids. We're like your parents, but we wait till maybe the second or third day and say, you have this amount of money and that's all you have, $20. We should probably up it because of inflation here. Inflation has increased. We're still on like the $1 bread loaf of bread that we had when we were kids. It was 75 cents. And that was like in 1975. And it's 2025 now. So I think you have to understand your kids, because even though our boys are 14 and 16, our youngest is mentally delayed. So he does not, he knows like a quarter, but he doesn't really understand what a quarter is. So we will just ask him, you have a choice. And this can be overwhelming too, right? With ADHD children. You go into the store and there is a galore. I mean, it's heaven. When you go in there, think about, for us, we want a new dress. Hey, well, I like this one, and this one. So you really even have to narrow down their choices, because they can't make a decision. So you kind of understand what they like. I went on a Disney cruise with my youngest and he just adores Mickey Mouse. So I said, you can have this or you can have this. Which do you choose between these two items? So let's not even talk about money. Let's talk about choices and knowing your child. You might even just come down to choice A or choice B in the budget that you know you want to have them spend. Because just giving him $20, it would never have worked for him. Now, for my eldest, yes, we do that, but we hold the money until a certain day. Because even though he understands money and he understands budget, he cannot manage money. And we came to that realization a couple years ago. So we know that he just can't. So we'll hold the money, let him look for the first couple days, and then give him his money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love that. Now, if people at home want to find you or follow along some of your more helpful tips, can you tell our listeners where to find you?
Yeah. Oh, thank you for asking. Yes. So I am on Facebook and I am on Instagram. I guess everybody's on that. And it's, I am Jenifer Breaux. So that is my social media. That's where you'll find, and my website. So I have blogs. I have specific blogs that help the neurodivergent. So the last week of every month, I have how to travel to New York or 5 best cruise ports. I think that's been some latest ones. I have one coming out, I think this week. So I forget. I just write them in a batch and then post them up there once a week. So that's where you can find it. And I'm starting to do YouTube. So I'll start putting some YouTube up there too. I am Jenifer Breaux.
Excellent. And I'm just going to say to the listeners, I'm going to put a link to this in the show notes, but the spelling of Breaux is Breaux.
Oh, yeah. And Jenifer with one N.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for your time today, Jenifer. It's been so lovely having you on the podcast, and hopefully we've alleviated, or you've probably alleviated, and my stories have probably added to people's anxiety about traveling with their beautiful kids with ADHD.
Thank you so much, Sharon. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the ADHD Families Podcast. If you loved it, please share it on your socials. I want this to start a conversation about ADHD. If you want to make this mum do a little happy dance, please leave a review on iTunes. If you would like to know more about what we do, check out thefunctionalfamily.com. I truly hope that you enjoyed this podcast and you use it to create a wonderful, effective, joyful life with your beautiful children.